In this video, we're going to go over fixing a gas tank. So in the FJ40, the gas tank sits underneath the passenger seat. So let's take a look. And in this case, the truck has been smelling like fuel like you wouldn't believe when it's filled up. Half a tank, it kind of goes away because there is a pinhole right here. So I had an option. Take the seat out, remove the tank, empty it, wash it out, get all the fuel, because if you're welding, you got heat, and fuel and heat, as I hear, don't go well together, especially a blowtorch and sparks. So I didn't want to spend all that money, and because my hole is near the top, I'm confident to clean this out, which I'll do now. I'm going to scrape all around here, clean it out, and I'm going to apply some JB Weld. So JB Weld, and I notice right here, steel, copper, brass, aluminum, bronze, so you know this tank is steel, and great for fuel tanks. So because this is at the top, I'm not so concerned because fuel will only be hitting that when it's filling up, and I'll make a point to maybe only fill this up like 3/4 or 7/8, whatever, not all the way to the top. I'll just figure out how many gallons. These are 15-gallon tanks, I think, so I'll only fill it up to 14 or 13. But let's do that. Well, let's get started. I'll start the scraping. I'm just going to use a razor blade. I got a wire brush, screwdriver, tool remover, those little plastic things you pop out with that tool, just to get down to the metal and prep it for the JB Weld. So here we go. As you can see here from the previous owner, we got down to metal here, but this is some putty, some sort of so I got to be careful there. I think they were just smoothing out the tank, and I don't have a leak in this area, so I don't want to focus on that. I think my focus is where the pinhole is, and my fuel is leaking right along here. So, and I'm not going to go all the way to the back because, again, the issue's not there. So I will use the JB Weld in this area and finish off by prepping it with that brush. So I'm going to clean it up a little bit more, and we'll start with the JB Weld. Okay, the way the putty works, you can see that there's black and gray. So I got to take off the amount I need and knead it together. And on the back here, it does say that it sets in 3 to 5 minutes, and after about an hour, 60 minutes, I can drill it, tap it, machine it, ground it, paint it. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So pretty simple. It's almost like puttying a window pane into a window frame. I'm just going to putty it. I'm going to put it nicely, cleanly around there. Knead that together so it's one uniform color, and then I'll hit it with some black chassis paint. Okay, I was using 2 hands a second ago, but as you can see, I'm getting a dark gray color. It's kind of stinky too. But there we go. So I think that'll be enough. I'm going to put it around here, soften this out, and let it cure, let it dry, and paint it in about 30 minutes. But we're ready to go. All right, there you go. So I put a bead around the base and then just started kneading it into. And look, this is already hard. This is 3 minutes later, so you got to work quick. I kept pushing it up with my thumb. Wear protective, obviously. You don't want this stuff on your hands. I'm sure there's California cancer warnings on that label. And made it as smooth as possible. Again, this is a utilitarian vehicle. I'm not looking for perfection, but I want it clean. And that's about as clean as I could do it with my hand. I don't think this is sandable. I think it's more grindable. I'll try sandpaper and let you know here in just a second. But yeah, let's let it sit there for an hour. I'll go get my chassis paint, and I'll tape off, and I'll just hit this whole area here. Maybe this a bit just to clean it up. So I'll have to protect my red. All right, gas fume problem is almost gone. Let's just get that painted and make it looking nice. Okay, there she is, taped up, ready to go. Everything's a black around it, but might as well get it as clean as possible. And with my good old, I'm going to start with the matte black. I've got the Eastwood Rust Encapsulator. I also have Extreme Chassis Black. This is a bit of a satin finish. I might hit it with that. Finish it off with a satin, as long as we can see it everywhere. So maybe the encapsulator first, then we'll finish it off with Extreme Chassis Black. Eastwood. I've used this on a chassis before. Awesome product. It's if you want to get an OEM finish on a chassis with that little bit of sheen to it, finish it with this. And the rust encapsulator is what you put first on top of rust, and just like the image shows. All right, so let's hit it with some light tacky coats first. All right, there's one coat. Just gotta let it dry a bit. It's looking a little bit of a sheen, but again, I just sprayed it. And just one point is, if I brought this to the shop and they remove the seat and they remove this and they wash it out and get all the gasoline out, I mean, you're talking labor. It's time. Let's say 2 hours to prep it, and what's the shop hourly rate? And then they got to weld it, breaking out the weld machine. So in this situation, not every situation is the same, but the JB Weld, they do say for fuel tanks on another packaging, you know, that same mix, the black and the gray, they say battery acid and gasoline. It's resistant to it. And again, gasoline's not always sitting here. Only when it fuels in from my tank, well, that's there. When it fuels in, that's when the gas is hitting it. If the car is on a big incline, if I'm off-roading, yes, all the gasoline is going to go to here. But ultimately, I think this solution at $6.99 for my JB Weld putty that I just showed you, I think is a no-brainer. And that's hard as rock, by the way. That they say it becomes like steel. That is hard as can be. So I really needed it in there, pushed it in, make sure it got into that pinhole, covers everything. And again, problem solved. Probably saved me, it would be easily $300 for them to do all that labor just to weld that. So, and then the car would have to be there for at least a day. Instead, one afternoon, about 10-15 minutes prep time, and 1 hour, well, kneading the putty together, the JB Weld, putting it on, waiting an hour, and spray painting it. You know, while I waited the hour, I just kind of covered everything with my painter's tape to get prepped, and then paint it. So it's just a quick late afternoon repair job, and I'll be able to enjoy this FJ one more time, or all the time, I should say. I should be able to enjoy it without that gasoline fuel smell inside. All right, and there it is, finished. So nice and black there. Hit it up the sides, and clean as can be. All right, that should eliminate my fuel smell and an inexpensive way to fix it. And I have seen people that have done this on the bottom of the tank. So you just empty, get it as low as possible, or empty out your tank actually if it's at the bottom. But no need to wash it out with water. You're not welding, right? This is what you would call a dry weld or a cold weld. You are not heating up anything. So back to enjoying the FJ40 or whatever type of vehicle you have, that you have an easy accessible tank that you can do the same and save hundreds of dollars in the process. All right, subscribe to the channel. I post a lot of stuff on Landcruisers, cars, just fun, cool hobby stuff that I enjoy just to share with others. And if this is a problem I've had with the little pinhole, I'm sure many others have had it as well. And that was my solution. All right, happy trails. Thanks.